Who of the living knows how the earth emerged? Who can now remember the day it was born? Even old people who know everything cannot uncover that memory from the past. That's the beginning of one of the legends of the Nivkhs, the indigenous people of the island of Sakhalin, who are rightfully considered to be some of the most ancient marine hunters in the world. We mostly live by water, along the seashore or the banks of a river. There are berries there, and the forest is nearby. We don't go far out into the open sea, only when we go hunting for seals in autumn. Then the water becomes heavier, and it's easier to catch them on the rookeries and in the sludge. The Nivkhs are some of the most ancient people of the Far East. Archaeologists identify these people with the so-called Ahots culture. They emerged in the first millennium BC in the basin of the Amur River and spread out to the Sakhalin and the Kuriil Islands. The Nivkhs' ancestors settled by the sea or at river mouths. They went fishing and gathered berries. For hundreds of years, they lived by sea hunt and fishing. Many Nivkhs have retained the attributes of the ancient culture. Most of them live in the north of Sakhalin in the village of Nivkh. According to the census of 2002, there were only 1,830 Nivkhs left on the island, with approximately the same number living on the mainland. But there's a different problem. Only 10% of them remember their native language, and that number is constantly decreasing.
You did not expect any visitors, did you?
Who'd come to see me other than you?
Do you want more guests then? Will you treat me to some tea?
Tea? Sure, let's have some tea and a chat. The old marine hunter is accustomed to solitude, which is only occasionally interrupted by his younger sister, who lives nearby. Come on in. Sit down on the sofa. I'll brew the tea. Close the door, please.
Leonid started fishing before I had even gone to school. He was around 10 then. He attended the elementary school at the time. I remember how he pushed the boat away from the shore using a pole. At the time, poles were used instead of oars to take out the nets. In summer, starting from June, they went fishing for small fish, smelt, and then humpback salmon. It was sun-cured and salted for the winter. At the end of the summer, they caught keta salmon, and towards October, they went hunting for seals. Women, in the meantime, went to gather berries and a variety of herbs.
Today's treats are the rosehip tea and the unfailing autumn attribute, red caviar, or as it's jokingly called here, Nivkh marmalade.
When are you going out to sea again?
One of these days. I'll finish repairing my motorbike and then go. It's stormy anyway in the bay at the moment, but I think that the weather will improve by tomorrow. A good fisherman feels the sea, even if he's blind or deaf. Once there lived such an old man. He sat by the sea in the evenings waiting for the right wind. As soon as he felt cold running down his spine, he would throw out a net and pull it back full of fish. Today, there's only one person of that kind left in Sakhalin, an old man, Leonid Ugine. He is a sort of local attraction, the last of the Mohicans, attracting researchers even from abroad. This fisherman remembers a Japanese named Sarisi. The researcher has already visited Nivkh a few times with the purpose of studying the unique dialect of the Nivkh language, which is the mother tongue of Leonid. The researcher asked him questions and recorded him speaking as they were having tea in the kitchen, or while the old man was busy repairing his motorbike in the garage. That's exactly what he's on now. I am a fisherman, but how can I go to the sea without this old tub? I can't carry the net on my shoulders. nor the oars. Where would I place them? That's why I made this thing, a sort of carry-cot. Looking at his broken trolley, the old man briefly hesitates. Most likely, he is thinking in his native Nivkh language. The Nivkh language has only two tenses, the future and the not future. At the moment, Leonid recalls his foreign friend who seems to have understood his people better than some of the people living nearby. Should I call the Japanese man to come over? He can translate. He always stays with me. Or with Zoya. He's used to staying with us. And we are used to speaking in our own language. Now there are very few people who can speak Nivkh. Some may understand it, but they can't speak it. The interest of the Japanese researchers in the life of Leonid is not just that the Nivkhs, like the Ugans, speak a dying language, but that they are also keepers of the lost memories of mankind, from which one can revive the distant past. We used to have boats made from 3 planks, usually of cedar wood, this wide. Cedar wood is robust, soft, and is easy to manipulate. We caulk the wood with a tarred rope to make it waterproof. Volodya Velayan, the student of Leonid Yugain, is one of the best fishermen in the region. While the old man is repairing his motorbike, Volodya explores the rookeries for tomorrow's hunting. The northwest wind is blowing now. Usually we hunt for seals over there, where the low tide is in full force. There's a rookery in that place. Usually we go by 1 or 2 boats. There are at least 2 people per boat. One for the oars and the other to hold the gun and the harpoon. Sometimes both of us have harpoons, or a harpoon and a shotgun. You never know on which side of the boat the seal will appear. Usually we kill seals when the cold weather sets in, so that there's food for the dogs over winter, and so that we can stock up on fat for the cold days. As for the skins, that's the women's domain. They collect the pelts and fleece and make shoes. Mostly boots. At least they used to do that. Globalization dictates its own laws of fashion, and you're unlikely to meet a Nivkh dressed in a national costume. However, this doesn't stop the residents of Nekrasovka from studying the secrets of the ancient patterns at the local club of arts and crafts of indigenous people.
In the olden days, each family, each woman, girl, and married woman had their own pattern. For example, an unmarried woman would never embroider a pattern that indicated she was a married woman. Or she would never make a pattern for a husband that could be worn by a bachelor.
However, the meaning of the patterns is not the only interesting feature of the traditional Nivkh outfits. The most unusual thing was that it was often made from fish skin.
They made robes from fish skin. It was first dried, then crumpled for a long time. And then, only then, it could be sewed.
After thousands of years of living by the sea, the Nivkhs seem to have become one with it. The designs on their clothes, their toys, their puppets are all damp with the salty smell of fish, including their musical instruments. We have a musical instrument called tingrin. It's as old as the roar of the sea. My sister used to play it in the local folk group. These days, she hardly ever plays it. Why don't you try to play it now? In the middle of the first millennium AD, the ancestors of the modern Nivkhs left Sakhalin in search of better lives and migrated south to the island of Hokkaido. But there they encountered a different Satsuman culture, the Anu, or Ezo, the indigenous population of the northern Japanese islands. They stopped the advance of the marine hunters, forcing them to turn back from Hokkaido and return to Sakhalin. Ironically, a few centuries later, the Ainu themselves were absorbed by the Japanese Empire. At the same time, the echo of the old Ojotsk culture is still perceptible here in the north of Sakhalin, the area frequented by the Japanese researchers that are searching for links to their primeval history. Although even this Nivkh melody does not sound as authentic as it used to.
The tin green does not sound the same way it used to.
It's not tuned.
What?
I'm saying it's out of tune. Must be the strings, or the drum must have dried out.
Yes, it might be the drum. In fact, it's easy to play. A tin green is a simple instrument that consists of a birch cylinder covered with fish skin. The string and the bow are made from fish tendons. One can easily play it.
But when it comes to music, the situation is similar to that of a language. Once a melody is lost, restoring it is just as hard as recovering the vanishing words in Leonid's vocabulary. I almost fell asleep listening to you play.
Well, then you can have a little nap.
The next day, Leonid starts to prepare for his trip, early in the morning. Oars, a harpoon, a bag with the fishing gear, a gun, and an anchor. That's all a modern seal hunter needs. Now the most important thing is for a favorable wind to start blowing. Regardless of the forecast, a Nivkh always has to remember that the sea is a living spirit, a Tol-Iz, the master of big water. You need to not only understand and feel him, but also treat him as your breadwinner. Before going out to sea, one has to feed the master of the water to appease his spirit. This is for the Father Sea to bring us luck, and for a calm sea, for hunting and fishing luck. Neither Leonid Yugain nor Volodya Velayan know how old this ritual is. Let's go. The master of the sea is usually treated to a mos, a traditional dish made from fish skins, berries, rice, and seal fat. But the stock of seal and berries are finished and have not yet been replenished. September and October are not only the hunting and fishing season, but also the peak time to collect berries, taiga berries, and cranberries, or siksa, as the locals call it.
We pick siksa in autumn and use it for special dishes. To make a mousse, it has to be soaked, and then we add boiled fish or milt, fish skin, fat, and potato. We call it kartoshka matot, which means cooked potato. Previously, we didn't add potato to this dish, and there was no word for it.
In addition to Siksa, which has always been found here, we've always had those small conifer trees and osier and other rare trees as rare as the Nivkh people like large trees. According to a legend, the first Nivkh, which literally means a man, emerged from the resin of this tree. That's why the taiga is as sacred for them as the sea.
Leave this sweet for the master under the tree. That's it. Let him enjoy it and allow us to pick berries today.
What's happening now can be called an offering to the spirits of the forest, done to appease the spirits in order to pick a lot of berries and to catch a lot of fish. Meanwhile, the men have gone out to sea. Volodya spotted a shoal of seals in the rookery, while Leonid sat on the bow of the boat holding his gun ready. The hunting will start shortly. However, the old myth is replayed again on the mirror-like surface of the water. The seal is leaving. It means that it's not the right time yet. The day will come when there will be food. The sea does not like impatience and greed. We never killed a large quantity of seals. Only when there was shortage of food. Normally in winter. The women are more successful. They found a good crop and settled there.
We gathered taiga berries, siksa for the winter, so that in winter we have something to eat. We also picked cloudberries, blueberries, all the berries that grow in our meadows.
If all goes well, Zoya will prepare a special dinner for her brother to celebrate the harvest. Leonid just complained that the tradition of holding those dinners is long forgotten. People don't cook the way they used to anymore. For example, my sister, the women of my generation still haven't lost the skill. But do you say, we don't know how to do that? Or they simply don't want to. But if you cook a seal, they'll all come to the feast. Everyone likes to eat. Unfortunately, things at sea did not go as the old man Leonid had planned. Being a fisherman, he can't return empty-handed. Together with Volodya, they go to the other side of the Palmer Bay to try their luck with the nets there. You stay here. I'll go quietly. Just like seal hunting, putting up nets requires teamwork for the Nivkhs. At least 2 people are required to do it. One to uncoil the casting net, the other to pull it out to the right depth, perpendicular to the shore. The fishermen decided on a spot and caught their first fish within a few minutes. This is a summer fish. Over there we caught an autumn one. And this striped one is a summer type, with teeth. For Leonid, this is more than mere fishing. It is a date with his beloved element, the sea, which his life is strongly connected to, living at the water's edge. This autumn day went well in the taiga. They didn't manage to fill the buckets to the brim, but did get enough to cook vizgals, Leonid's favorite dish. Now all that's left is to decide who will be cooking it.
Are you going to cook? No, not me. She'll do it. Zoya, don't pass the buck. You're the best cook here.
Everything becomes clear later in the evening when the first guests appear at the gate of Leonid's house. They arrive to find a true feast. Yes, this time the women have displayed all their culinary talents.
Muvi was taken to the table, and the vizgals made of siksa is ready. There's also raw fish, ya mahara. We serve it like that.
It is a special day for Leonid, not only because for the first time in several years he has put on his special shirt, but because for the first time in a long time his native language, which has almost ceased to be heard on the streets, could be heard in this house again. The dishes he has loved since his childhood are on the table. The vizgals made from cooked fish and siksa, the mas made from cooked fish skin and sweet berry mousse, fish heads, stroganina, all that the sacred taiga and the sea have been providing to the Nivkhs for centuries. This toast does not require a translation. It's enough to see the happy faces of those rare people. 100 years ago, things were completely different. One only has to look at those photographs to see it. The people in those photographs look completely different, belonging to a different epoch, of a different kind. A lot has changed in their everyday lives, yet their faces remain the same. Today, the descendants of the ancient hunters of Sakhalin do not wear traditional clothes, do not live in mud huts and houses on poles, and this may disappoint those who love exotic things. But it is precisely this nation that is saving for posterity the unique Nivkh language that came to us from ancient times, thereby decoding not only the living past of the earth, but also its elusive present.